I'm Kevin Dugan of Joyride Brewing, and this is Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest is Marni Wahlquist of Odell Brewing, and she is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on all social media at All About Beer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into this conversation in a moment, but first, this message.
Today's episode is brought to you by StompStickers.com, trusted by thousands of breweries across the country. They've been printing for over 30 years, and they know beer branding inside and out. Whether you need beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, or more, they've got the expertise you need, all backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Try your first run with StompStickers.com and get 15% off with code TRY15. That's TRY15 by visiting StompStickers.com. This German flavor break is brought to you by Weyermann Specialty Malts, crafted in Bamberg, Germany, and trusted by brewers worldwide for depth, color, and flavor. With a portfolio of over 90 malts, Weyermann provides the tools to build anything from crisp pilsners with Pilsner Malt to rich Märzens layered with Munich and Vienna. Even complex dark beers using Caramunich and Special W. Whether you're refining a classic European style or pushing modern recipes, order Weyermann from RahrBSG. As an industry-leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top-quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice. You're paying too much to process your invoices. Look, it's not your fault. It's just because you're not using PaySmart yet. Most breweries are stuck with platforms designed for general small businesses, not the craft industry. That's why PaySmart was built. It's the new payment solution that is fully integrated into leading brewery software like Ecos and Ollie. That means less time chasing payments, fewer workarounds, and more money saved. Want to see how much you can save? Head over to save.withpaysmart.com to learn more and to claim an incredible launch offer. That's save.withpaysmart.com.
Welcome, and I'm very pleased to have Marni Wahlquist as my guest today. Marni Wahlquist is the R&D brewer at Odell Brewing Company, Sloan's Lake, Brew House, Denver, and has been with the brewery for over 12 years. Marni brews a diverse menu of beer offerings, brewing with hops and local ingredients, both farmed and foraged. Deeply connected with the art of brewing, Marni finds that brewing beer continuously teaches her through observation and process. While not in the brew house and cellar, Marni enjoys While not in the brew house and cellar, she enjoys learning how to grow things, building things, tasting things, and being with loved ones. So lovely. Uh, awesome. I hope that I'm one of those loved ones, by the way, Marni.
You know you are.
Welcome, Marni. It is so good to talk to you. So good to see you. As always.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah. How are you doing in this moment?
Oh, I'm doing really good, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I've never seen you on a Zoom call before, so.
Right. You know what? Actually, I can remember one time when I think anyway, during COVID, during
Oh,
high COVID, when y'all interviewed me to come move down here to Denver, move down
that
to
would be it.
this house I'm sitting in right in this moment. Anyhow,
That would be it.
good
That
to
was a
see you.
long time ago. I guess
It
that
was a
makes
long
sense.
time. It was a long time ago. This is like half
Yeah.
a decade ago at this point, which is just wild that our life. It's like I've known you for so long now.
I know I was thinking about that like 11 or 12 years probably
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
first talked on the phone
yeah. No,
when
at
you were with
least, at least.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. No, and that actually, this is like exactly. So, I wanted to know. Um, so before you started working at Odell. you were an entrepreneur. You, and I'm not like that sounds awful. I'm laughing, I'm chuckling, snickering, like not to belittle what you were doing, but it just it's like funny to this is like a story that we've told a million times or whatever. But I guess I'm looking for in this moment a what was it like to switch gears to go from operating your own company, and please feel free to elaborate on what your company was all about. But yeah, and then go into working for a company like
Sure,
Odell, and
sure.
like, yeah, so
Yeah. So, yeah, I was running a fermentation food business where I traditionally fermented sauerkrauts and did some yeah, worked with a lot of the local farmers during the summertime and made some one-offs like kimchi dill pickles, Hakurei turnips, pickled beets. And then I had my staples, which were masala carrots, the caraway juniper sauerkraut, and plain sauerkraut. And basically the gears shifted when we decided that we thought, oh, we want to have a family, and oh, maybe I can get a part-time job and do something where, something very consistent because as you know, being an artist that and doing your own thing in entrepreneurship, and when you're start up, your money comes in lumps. It's not consistent. And so I thought, okay, I can do something that's part-time and continue to ferment vegetables. And by that time I was getting pretty wrecked. My knuckles were all swollen from all the production of the vegetables and stuff, but I loved it, just being able to ferment. Um uh and I went for a pack actually it was a warehouse position at Odell Brewing Company. And, I just thought, "Oh, I'll just go for it. Not in a million years. Thousands of people are going for this job." And I mean, it's at the high point of craft brewing back in, end of 2013, and so, just huge time. And so I was shot in the dark and we'll see what happens. And that's what happened.
wait, so are you saying you started in the warehouse?
Well, so no, I interviewed for the warehouse, and then I guess my um my what it my
Resume or whatever, yeah,
resume, yeah,
yeah.
thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Was sitting there on the desk, and John Bass was like, "Hey, do you mind if I interview her too?" And so John
That's so
Bass was in
cool.
packaging at the time, yeah, as
Right.
he is now.
As he is now
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hired both of
John
us.
Baez.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, so I came back and interviewed with the packaging team. And then and I felt so lucky. I was called and asked which department I would rather work in.
Whoa,
And
what?
I
That
was,
is
yeah.
so cool. And then, and also just like thinking about how that's like that's like a pretty like independent business type of way to like hire a person, right? Like to interview somebody for a job they didn't apply for.
Yes.
So it's amazing to picture Odell in 2013, and that's like who they were still in that moment. They were like owning craft beer. Not that
Yes.
sounds awful. But they were like in my mind, they were like the best thing out there. And yet they're
Yeah.
still like kicking around resumes like, hey,
Hmm. And growing so fast at that
right,
point.
right. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that just at that point, we were that year, I think
Exploding.
we hired so many people.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you were close behind that. You weren't too
Right.
far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a year, another year later or whatever.
Yeah, but
But
that's
yeah.
still in the high point of craft brewing.
Yeah. Would you say that your fermented food business was like a pretty awesome experience? Like, has that helped you become a better brewer? Or like, do you think that led into, I guess my question here is, are there life experiences that you've had that you feel like kind of like sent you to where you are now? Or why is it that you're a brewer? You know, like
Sure, yeah.
why is it that anyone is a brewer? Like why
Yeah,
like
like how do you
what is it
find
for
that?
you? Yeah,
Do,
yeah. And
hmm
is it your love of fermentation? Is it your love of cleanliness? Like where does where does yours, love of beer, like, but yeah, I'll stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love beer. I always have loved beer. And during that time I would go in weekly with some jars of sauerkraut, and there were some folks in the tap room, and I bring in sauerkraut, and they give us some beers and send us home with a six pack for trading for jars of sauerkraut. And I just thought that was the greatest thing. But yeah, I never really thought that I would make beer even at that point. It just seems so esoteric to me, and just, oh, it's so different. I didn't really know about. I love drinking it. I didn't understand a lot of it. I had done some brewery tours and such, but um you know d brewing's a lot deeper than going on a brewery tour, as you know. But um, I just knew I loved the product. And so, to answer, instead of going roundabout to answer your question, I do believe that fermentation is definitely brought me into that, gave me that idea to go for that job. But I didn't, I did go, I was more looking, I had to go for an entry level, but I was more looking for something, like packaging, warehouse, or tap room. I didn't really think that I would be qualified to do something like brewing or cellar work or anything like that. And because I didn't know. But come to find out, I got to learn more just so as I started in packaging, and realize the deep agricultural connection that beer has to the land, and a lot like like fermenting vegetables.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of similarities. It's a different process, but when it comes down to the actual fermentation, they're very similar. Fermentation is fermentation, unless you get into the mold-based ferments, like tempeh and stuff like that's a little bit different. But anaerobic fermentation that we do, and that lactic fermentation that you do with vegetables, is very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that is so fascinating to me that you I just didn't like we've worked together. We worked together for almost a decade, and I didn't know that your rise to the top just seemed not to the top, whatever, but like I started working at Odell like a year and a half after you were there, and you were already like deep into the cellar and on your way to being an R&D. Like you were like a star around that place, you know? So it's like funny to like, sorry to put you on the spot like that, but it's just like funny to me to hear that like your plan was like maybe get a little health insurance and like get a baby going, like
Right. Yeah. And,
that's
have
so
some stable income. And
and that was what was attractive to me about the brewery as well. Like not to this is your interview, but like yeah,
sure.
you look around in that community. We're living in Fort Collins, Colorado, and you're like, yo, Odell is the best thing going, like for
Right.
and it seemed accessible enough. Like you said, it seemed like thousands, you knew there's thousands of applicants, but could I stand out? Is it possible? Like, gotta have a dream. Yeah. And
Exactly.
here you are, 12 years later. More than 12 years later, and yeah, have been on so many journeys in that world and brewed just like countless beers, so many styles, had so much fun, made so many messes, cleaned up so many messes. Not to say that you made messes. You are an
Oh,
extremely
yeah.
clean
You
brewer, but
know,
like
you
sometimes it
make,
goes down. I've made some serious messes, but yeah.
as I have
Yeah.
too. I mean, how can you not,
Yeah.
being in a cellar brew house? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's part of the job.
If you don't want
The
to have
com
stuff all over you and be like wet half of the time at least,
Yes,
then what are we doing?
exactly. Exactly.
And that's also like that's something that I think is so cool about you, is just like the experience end of it, just like wanting to get in there, wanting to you work so hard. And I guess that's like what I'm curious about is like what where does your work ethic come from? Do you think that, not to like divulge too much about your earlier life, like well before brewing, but like, do you think that training to be an athlete, uh, as a teenager, as hard as you did, maybe like is why every time I come to your brewery, you're scrubbing the floor? Like it's so clean. You have the cleanest space, and you obviously just like work so like I worked with you for so long and never saw you not work so hard. And every time it's not like I'm trying to catch you, but like every time I pop into the brewery, like there you are working hard again. Yeah.
Oh, well.
So, but
Well,
yeah, do you think sports? Do you
I
think
think
that?
that does definitely help because it gives you, at a young age, you're starting to train yourself to, you're working towards goals and there's things that you want to accomplish with what you're doing. And I have a strong drive for excellence in what I do. And I think that's really a lot of it, and perfection is unattainable and we all know that. But doing the best you can in every moment is something I like to live by.
Right.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
gonna always be able to be so proud of like, man, there wasn't a time where I just decided to not do the thing, like you when you reflect back on this time in your life, you're gonna be like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, and
I
it's
was
so much
there.
fun.
Oh, and
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that was like what
You-
we always said, right? Was like, hey, when I stop having fun doing this thing, then that's when when it's over, because it is just so enjoyable. There's like it's endlessly satisfying in so many different
Endless.
ways, so many different aspects of it. It
Yes.
gives back as
Right.
much as it takes, or if not significantly more. Like it's such an honor to
Absolutely.
be a brewer. It's yeah,
Yeah, it's
pretty
a lot of
special.
work. And then even when you're away from the brewery, there you have these experiences with brewing and with pitching your yeast and the way things are fermenting, that things creep into your mind and give you ideas. Oh, I should try this next time. And there's
Oh
so
yeah,
many nuggets that are always being given to us in this world, and we get to interact with this micro world that we see by the finished product, but we don't get to see with our eyes how it all happens. We have an idea and we can only imagine, but we get to co-create with this living world of microbiology, and it's so neat, and it's there and it's accessible to us
right.
to learn from, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
And it does seem to always want to teach you something, like that time when you and I kept that yeast going for like significantly longer than anyone would have advised us to do. But we were like, hey, there's nothing to tell us not to.
Sure.
And and it would tell us, when it was done in any given beer. So just like don't harvest that one. So we were doing like
Yes.
some pretty awesome I don't know. And just that was such a fun time, and we were just engaging with this this other life form, and feeling
Absolutely.
like we were genuinely engaging with it, It was like trying to have that conversation, which I feel like is so like you were particularly strong at that, like that you were like your eyes are so open. And an example of that is I was your assistant and I would come to you with like, hey, I think that this is a cooler way of doing this thing. And then the next time it was your turn to do it, you were doing it that way. You were like open to learn. You're like learning like you're the student, but you're the teacher. And that's so cool. And even able to learn from the student. That was a pretty, and you taught me how to brew. Like I only know how to brew because of you. And yet you were always willing to listen to any of my observations and be like, hey, you know what? I think there might be something to that. We should start, X, Y, or Z.
Absolutely. I still set up my caking, but I mean,
Right.
that's great. It's efficient. And we always want to do better and be
Oh,
more
yeah.
efficient and
And
not
that
have to
was,
move hoses around more than we have to. And
and that was like those were the processes we had in the cellar department at Odell were so tight. Like I can think of this one fella, named Jake. I don't want to shout him out too much, but that guy, Jake O'Mara, is just like that dude came up with some amazing ways of doing things, and it was
Oh
such an
yeah.
honor to like, I don't know, you look back on your time in this world and it's like that was a cool experience to be a part of that team, whatever.
Hmm.
Speaking of cool
Absolutely.
experiences, though. Can you can you think of a that sounds so weird. Speaking of cool experiences, Barney, can you think of a time can you think of like an extra meaningful collab that you've had? Like that's something that I also like really appreciate about you is that you're always like trying to bring other people into the brewing space. So like is there a time when you did that where you felt like it really hit?
Bringing like a non-brewer collab you're talking
Maybe
about?
so, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe more, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to be so restrictive in the question.
Yeah,
I
for
guess I
sure.
guess I did restrict it down to that. Like what non-brewer, but like let's be more vague. Like what is there ever a time where you like, hey, that was cool.
Yeah, I had one more recently, and it wasn't a collab so much as that they wanted to come and just kind of see the brewing process. It was the Yard House.
Oh,
And they came and brewed with me when I brewed a stout pretty recently. And it was such a neat brew day because they were so engaged all day and just asking so many questions and wanting to know all the steps. And um it was only for education for them so they could talk about beer in a more meaningful way. But to me, it was so neat that they were there from the beginning to the end and had so many questions all along the way.
that's amazing. I love that.
And
I love that so much.
yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, they do that for their work, but it was it was just a lot more meaningful than I thought it was going to be. And I felt, and when we all got so much out of our day together, it was such a lovely day of sharing brewing with people that had never seen the process before and actually sell beer.
Yeah.
And that was really really cool.
Were they from all of the different locations of Yard House
They
or
were
like
only from the one where I think it's downtown, like the one by and is there one by Illegal Pete's or something, I think?
I don't get out much. But
Yeah, I think that's the
but it
one
was just one spot,
yeah, I
one
think
of the
so.
locations. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool though. Like what a meaning like I know that you love, from you and I when we were in Fort Collins, we would always have these collabs where you know, we just did it a lot. You and I like brewed a lot of beers together. That was
Yes.
how you trained me actually. It was like 5 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row, and all of those, I believe, maybe all, some of them anyway, were all these like collabs where we're hosting people and bringing people into that space, and it was so fun to watch you like light up when somebody would ask you a question and stick around to hear the answer or but like just really engage with the process. Some folks, everybody can be there doing whatever they want to do. You're not that
Exactly.
interested in the thing, that's fine. Hang out, have some beers, just don't be a jerk, but we're all good here. But
Yeah.
when they do want to get in there and smell the hops and do the things and
Yes.
whatever it is, like and though genuinely engage through the whole process, and I think that's infinitely valuable for any serving staff to have a crew that's like that can speak to process and ingredients. And what
Yes.
better way, like what is the best teacher other than experience? So if you've been there, you're gonna remember, oh yeah, that's
Hmm.
right, we ground up that that grain and then we hit it with some hot water. Like you remember like the
Exactly.
whole.
We tasted those malts that went in there, it was,
Exactly.
and it's so true. And that's the great thing about a collab is that you can attend it in any capacity. You want to just sit around and relax
Yeah.
drink beers, that's awesome. And, and if you want to get in there and, move hoses around or, put hops in, whatever, that's awesome too. And so, yeah, it's pretty great
Yeah,
just to
and
share it.
you do such like just on a personal level, like you just do such a great job of sharing that like you are just you're welcoming and like nurturing in that, you're like, come on in, like
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything, like even if it's like not the best time to be talking to somebody, you usually do a pretty good job of being like, hey, wipe the sweat from your brow. And like, I'll tell you exactly what I got going on if you're curious. It's great. Like with a good attitude, you do a great job of like keeping a solid attitude through whatever, So
Oh, thank you.
it's always it's just very I mean, who doesn't feel good around somebody who's cheery, right? And like especially like we're grinding it out. You're like, yeah, we can be happy about this or that. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's weird. We're so like it's strange to interview you because we know each other pretty well, but
We do.
um I guess we haven't worked together in a minute. So like what did I miss? Like I wasn't there and I was there for a lot of it, but like are there like cool new hops that I haven't been around for, or are there some beer styles that you've been brewing that, and now that's like seven questions, but but anyway, like
Well,
what's extra exciting to you right now?
I've been really just digging hops. And hops are a lot of what we do,
Yeah.
at Odell Brewing, as you know. And but also at the brewery we do at Sloan's Lake, we sell so much IPA out of there. And so um almost every other brew I am brewing is some sort of an IPA. And so that gives me the opportunity to play a lot. I bring brands back here and there, but a lot of them are one-offs, and it's just so fun to play with combinations, you know, play with different times and adding the hops and where I'm adding the hops. And so I guess that's what I'm doing now, and just trying to drive flavor and aroma in a different way. When you and I got those butterfly valves for the top for our dry hops to make it a safer process, that's definitely a highlight for me still. It's still a total rush to dry hop, all in all at once. The it's bubbling. It's pretty much, you could just, like inches down, it's right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You're having the blowback in your face as you're pouring it. So
Yeah, you're like, I'm glad I brought all of this up here and don't have to go back down
no way.
because
There'd be no
there was no
time.
time. Yeah, no, I
It'd put
love
it'd
those
put
days.
Mentos and Diet Coke to shame.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. It's bubbling. It's bubbling so hard. No, and I love that. I loved the results of that. I felt were like so cool. And I think that you have like your hoppy beers are great. I mean, obviously y'all have the best hops. Like, you know,
well,
maybe
there's a
not
lot of good
maybe
hops
not
out there.
the best, but
Yeah.
yeah, y'all's hop game is obviously like famously very good.
No.
But the way you use them is, I feel like, very classy and also yeah, it was always so fun doing that process with you. And that like yeah. Anyway, I think that we just hit the 30-minute mark here, so it
Okay.
is time for a quick commercial break. Um, we're gonna take a quick we're gonna take a short break for this message and then come right back for more on this conversation with Marni Wahlquist.
$1 or 26 cents? What would your brewery rather pay the next time it has to process an invoice? If you're paying more than 26 cents, it's time to stop overpaying and switch to PaySmart. Built specifically for craft, PaySmart is a fully integrated payment solution that's offering just 26-cent invoices processing fees for your first 6 months with no monthly fees ever. Less work, faster payments, lower costs. See how much your brewery could save with their cost savings calculator at save.withpaysmart.com. That's save.withpaysmart.com. Today's episode is brought to you by StompStickers.com, trusted by thousands of breweries across the country. They've been printing for over 30 years, and they know beer branding inside and out. Whether you need beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, or more, they've got the expertise you need, all backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Try your first run with StompStickers.com and get 15% off with code TRY15. That's TRY15 by visiting StompStickers.com. This German flavor break is brought to you by Weyermann Specialty Malts, crafted in Bamberg, Germany, and trusted by brewers worldwide for depth, color, and flavor. With a portfolio of over 90 malts, Weyermann provides the tools to build anything from crisp pilsners with Pilsner Malt to rich Märzens layered with Munich and Vienna. Even complex dark beers using Caramunich and Special W. Whether you're refining a classic European style or pushing modern recipes, order Weyermann from RahrBSG. As an industry-leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice.
Welcome back. We are talking with Marni Wahlquist of Odell Brewing, and yeah, also of being one of my best friends in this life. So yeah, anyway, I was about to ask, are there some cool new hops out there that maybe not everybody knows about that you want to talk about, or maybe everybody does know about? I don't know. What's the hot new stuff? I haven't been around for a minute, so please enlighten me.
Well, the breaks on there's been a serious breaking action on the experimental realm of hops, and there's still experimentals going on. There's the experimental hop yards out in Oregon and Washington, the hop yards to go walk and see what they're working on. But the past few years we have gotten so long on hops that the world of hops has changed. All the flowables available. It's pushed creativity so huge because there are so much inventory of hops that now we have Dynaboost, Hyperboost, and Haas has their Incognito and Spectrum products, and those were kind of in works before that, but I think the boom really did happen when the hops just there were just so many out in Yakima that you know
Right.
with the changing of the industry, and so
And that makes total sense also. Like if you have so many amazing hop varieties out there, like what is the end pursuit? Like why keep making new, like, and I'm sure like you said, they're still doing it, but like maybe not as aggressively. Like we don't need the push for this hot new hop, you know,
yes,
hop
yeah, and
itself. It's more about like a hop product. It's like how do we use these hops that are tried and true hops out there, make it make it something that makes something even more special in the beer than it was already
definitely,
making.
and more stability maybe, and
Okay.
storage ability. But with that said, there are experimentals happening, but it's different. The sponsorship is has definitely changed. There's not really anything like that anymore. And then the experimental realm is a lot more intentional.
Okay.
There's just not so many anymore.
Okay.
And and things they'll go through a bunch of benchmark trials, and then it's something if they see that there, if the agronomics needs to be strong, the picking window needs to be in the right spot and not interfere with, maybe citromosaic that, get picked at the same as similar times. And and maybe a good replacement for something that is on the market and widely used that is an agronomically stronger hop than that. And then I'm sure looking at, the change, the drought, the warmer temperatures. It's already been, the other night I looked at Yakima and it was 80 degrees and it was 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And, so there's, some hops will thrive in that environment and, but many probably won't, especially in that area. And so, um, there's a lot of, it's changing. It's agricultural product, like we talked about earlier. And so, just the way that the landscape of the brewing industry and less breweries and less volume overall, there's a lot of changes on many different levels.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so,
And that's like, it sounds like a kind of, I mean, obviously all these like new hop varieties with, various different characteristics is like all fun and stuff, but that sounds like a cool change. Leave it to the ag world to be thinking about the planet, out of necessity, like absolute necessity, but like, you know, we're only like focusing on uh it grows better, it's better for the planet, or
sure.
like it takes less resources, like, or it's like, I guess not better for the planet, that's like a weird way of putting it, but like I guess that's part of a bigger conversation about what's going on with the planet in this at a
Yes.
time such as this,
Hmm.
but that it has to, like, plants we need to be starting thinking about growing hops that can take the heat, like if it's going to be a new experimental hop, like maybe it's that it can survive in you know
Right,
these
right. And
super
then,
extreme conditions.
and then also like in the hop yards is, the use of cover cropping and using different methods of building your soil back up. There's a lot of mindfulness with, and there, even though it may not be like regenerative or organic or anything like that, but like some of those hop ranches are utilizing those techniques because their agronomics get stronger. They don't need to use as much water because the soil isn't being just inundated by that sun. There's more shade on it, and so it's not drying out as quickly. And there's creating more diversity and bringing in predator insects and stuff
Wow.
like that to mitigate using so many inputs on those plants. And because inputs alone too, and not only can it like pollute the land and the soil and stuff, but they're expensive. There's a lot of different ways. You don't necessarily need to be all into organics or anything, but you can also look at the bottom line. And if you don't have to put that input on those plants, I mean, you're going to save thousands of dollars by the time they go to pellet or bale. So
Yeah, yeah, just not spraying poison on your crops is just the cherry on top of the fact that you saved that money, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And so it's just getting smarter in how to work with the land and with the environment in which you're in, kind of like what we do as brewers in the brew house and cellar to work with our product to do the best that we can. They're doing the same thing with getting us those raw materials, is the best that they can. So
Yeah, it's kind of there's this like beautiful, like everything is kind of like doing the same thing, like we're trying to
abs-
make the best beer that we can. They're growing the best that they can, whether it's grains or hops or anything. We're
yes,
putting fruits. There's plenty of fruits. Any kind of thing. Veggies. We're putting all kinds of stuff in beers. You especially put all
absolutely.
kinds of stuff in beers.
Yeah.
Um, which is amazing. But then you also then have like the community of folks drinking your beers and they're like engaging with the beers that you've made and kind of dictating, where your menu goes and telling you what at your spot, they tell you that every 2 times you brew, it should probably be hoppy.
Exactly. It's
That's
very
amazing.
true.
That's
Yeah,
so
and
cool that you brew that much hoppy stuff.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. And it's true. We're all these big circles and we're all interrelated, when we have in front of us where we have brew house cellar, then we have tap room and sales, and we all need each other. Just,
Right.
we couldn't do it without them and they couldn't do, without us. It's everything is so co-creative, like you said,
Yeah,
and
for
it,
sure, for
it's
sure.
so beautiful.
Yeah, and it can be so cool making different beers for all those different people who will come to your tap room and then watching them. I was thinking about this the other day, like in the way that we would curate our tap list and how it was like you brew we would brew beers like and I guess like anybody brews beers knowing that they're going to be consumed at a faster or slower rate, but we would do that with enthusiasm. We were enthusiastic that a beer would go a little bit slower than the other ones, or like, not looking at that as like it's an anchor necessarily on our tap list, but like,
Right.
hey, that thing's gonna be around for a minute, but not like, not a like
It's not going to
an
be
un-
like an IPA.
it's not an unreasonable amount of time that a beer is going to be on tap if it's moving slower than other beers. But I was thinking
Yeah.
about it the other day, and it's like this. It's like what I was thinking about anyway, is like it's like an album. You have these moments in a record where it's like the hits, and obviously like different genres do this in a different way or whatever, but like every song on a record can't be at the same pace. Like it gets boring. There's like this rhythm to there's a
Hmm.
rhythm to listening to music. Like obviously like the drum is the core of it all, but like then
Sure.
uh there's there's a rhythm to, if you put 10 songs together to make a record, there's a rhythm to that. And there's a rhythm to the way that your beers are consumed while people are listening to songs cherry picked off of an album by an algorithm, you know,
That's so
selected by your
true.
tap room
Yeah.
staff. I don't know. It's just like, it's kind of cool. It's like a musician. I heard a musician years back being interviewed and talking about how you wouldn't think to like make a song like this one's kind of not necessarily filler. It's absolutely not filler, but it's like this one isn't meant to be that one.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, It's like the yin and yang. You need to have that balance because
for
if it's
sure.
all super yang and aggressive, everyone's gonna get tired and sit down, and you lost them,
Right.
because so you kind of like rein it in and just in this it is an anchor, right?
And
It
it could even
anchors
be
people in. So
stability, with a menu like yours, you always do one-offs. I guess I shouldn't say always, but like for the most part, like you said at the beginning, that you bring some back, but they're one-offs. But if you have a beer that sticks around for 2 months, that can feel comforting to your guests, instead of like
sure.
every time I come in here, it's a whole different place. Like,
Yes.
how come every time? I don't know. One can't help but think about what the experience is for the folks that are like there. And now I guess my experience is a little different than most customers when I come to your place, but like I am a customer there. I'm like,
Sure.
doing it in that way now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's something I really valued that you wanted that diverse menu, but it feels to me just like it all kind of like ties back into that thing that I said earlier about you just being welcoming. Like but that's also it like also at the end of all of this, it's simple economics. We want you to have as many beers in our place as you possibly can. And like let's say you come in here with a group of 5 people, you all have a diverse array of what you're going to be wanting to drink. If we're not offering good stuff that hits the mark on all of those,
Gonna
not
lose them.
it's not like you're going to make every single style, but like
Right.
we want you to be here like we want you to feel comfortable, well taken care of, and well represented enough on our menu that you'll stay and have a few.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Have
So,
something for everyone, something maybe heavy, something very light. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
And
really important.
it makes it so fun that way too, right? Like just
Hmm.
always brewing different stuff all the time.
Yes.
Is there anything that you like to brew these days? Like that, I mean, I can remember the stuff that we would get excited about, but like, what do you anticipate any brew day more enthusiastically than others? I know that you're just like, you love to do it. So that's
I
kind
do
of
love
a,
to do it, and it's just so fun, and it's every time you open that slide gate, you're just starting that next journey of the brew day, and it's so cool. You just go into this realm and you're just in it. And I do have a brew with a couple of uh teammates next week that it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a lavender honey lemon sour. And so
whoa.
I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's going to be a
Yeah.
fun one, a fun offering.
Heck yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
pretty
I'm
different.
I love that you're still doing those types of brews. Like how long does it take on average, would you say, for somebody working at Odell Sloan's, I guess, where that's our conversation. But how long
Sure.
does somebody have to work at Odell Sloan's on average before they get to brew a beer with you?
Well, I'm kind of the mindset, because everyone you hear it, I want to brew beer,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, what do you want to brew? Oh, and at that point it's run away, they're
Yeah.
not really sure what they want to brew, um and then there are people that, I want a dunkel, or it's just like they know what they want, um and it was, like, okay, well, I need to brew a dark beer, so or not super dark, but a medium
Yeah.
dark beer and lighter. So why don't you come back and brew, and let's do it. I find it's easier that way. But and I would prefer to have the folks that have been there longer to come back first. But a lot of times they're just not ready yet, and I don't want to force it. And
Yeah.
I do offer. I go, if you want to come back, I'm brewing IPA all the time. I notice you drink IPA all the time. Come
Jump on
back.
an IPA. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to
jump in on
design
a
this
brew
beer.
day, and
Yeah.
so that happens. But Dylan's dad was out last year for GABF, and we met on the floor at GABF. And after I met him and I saw Dylan, I pulled him aside and I go, I know your dad's a home brewer, and you should have him come out sometime, and all brew a beer together. And we did that yesterday.
No way. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What kind of beer did you brew?
Oh, an IPA, of course.
Of course, but
Yeah,
like
he loves, he comes from Russian River, so
was it like
he
so
loves
it's a
his
West Coast IPA then,
West
nice and
Coast, like
bitter and
likes the little maltier. So, we had a little Munich and Munich 10 in there, and
okay.
yeah, yeah, made it has some color, like nice orangey color. And yeah, but it was so fun to have his dad there, and
Hell
he's a
yeah.
home brewer, and
No, that's lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's just like so family and so Odell. I mean, that's like in the
Yes.
that's in the DNA of, but also that's like another thing that they told us like pretty early on. It's like part of like what Corky would tell us in orientation, but it's like uh collaboration, like the importance of collaboration. And in that moment, she's talking about like with your colleagues,
Exactly.
and if you're collaborating with your colleagues over there from the kitchen, front of house, they're coming to you with a suggestion that you might not have even thought of, like maybe that
Exactly.
dunkel wouldn't have happened, or, not until next year or whatever it is. But it's just like that's the strength in the community. And that's
Yes.
that's like amazing, so
Yeah, yeah. And so I do, when someone has an idea, and they really they know what they want to brew, I'm gonna make that happen. We're gonna get that on the books. Like, they're ready.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No,
But
I think
when it's a mention, oh, I want to do that, that's cool too, but when I said, fine, when you're ready, let's
yeah.
do it. Think about
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
It's so cool that it's like just there and available, you know. It's not like you got to pay your dues necessarily or be there for X amount of time or anything. It's just
right.
like you just have to be brave enough to have a conversation with you, which is so funny. You're like the least scary person to talk to, but also you're very impressive. So it's like hard to not be intimidated from, an outsider's perspective, you know. I was lucky enough to get in on, early days. We were like working overnights together and stuff. So I didn't have to worry. Like, I don't know what it's like to approach, Marni Wahlquist 2026 and be like, hey, I want to brew a beer, I think, you know? Like I got to just like, I don't know, just different lived experiences, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. Different times, and we got to learn a lot together.
right.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
another aspect of Odell, and it was like the first thing that we talked about. So I guess like in a full circle kind of way. Um, has it been so like work-life balance is like it seems like a myth, maybe. I don't know. I think like universally, like I'm not talking from like my experience or anything, but it seems like it's something that is a little hard to attain, but like how would you say, like you say you wanted to come to Odell Brewing to, find a path to where you could have stability and raise a family.
Mhm.
Now that you have done that, how would you say it's been? Like, how would you say it is now? Like, are you finding good work-life balance? Are you able to have that time with your family in your current role? Or is it like, or do you have advice for others also? Like, that's seven,
Sure.
again, seven questions at once, but
Okay. Well, work-life balance is I think it's definitely a personal journey for each individual. I have had a a I've had a long time at Odell that I did not have very good work-life balance. And were times of challenges and stuff just in my work with just so much work to do. And even starting up Sloan's Lake Brew House, I wouldn't say I found my work-life balance, and I'm still practicing. I think it's a practice. I don't think it's something like I do this. Maybe some people, but it's not part of me too. I'm pretty I can get pretty one like just get that singularity going, and I'm just all in on it. And so I think it really came to me when I had my sabbatical like 2.5 years ago. And I got like at 10 years we get a month off sabbatical paid, and then we're able to add um 2 additional weeks of PTO. So I took a 6-week sabbatical. And when I first left on my sabbatical, I was I would say maybe for 2 weeks I was completely exhausted. I had all these plans to get all my housework done and want to do that during it, but I literally laid around all day, and I was so tired. And then I started to come out of it after about 2 weeks, and my family was like, "Oh my gosh, you're back. It's old Marnie. We haven't seen you for years." And so that time away during that 6 weeks I had off, I really made some personal goals for myself to create some balance in my life when I go back to work. And it didn't mean I cared less about my job and what I do, and I'm still going to work hard, but not create more boundaries in my life where I'm home more and not zapping myself so much while I'm at work. And giving myself some reprieve, like you can come back the next day and finish something if you're not done with it, or because ultimately it's up to me. I run the brewery there now that I no longer have you, and I only have my crane named Kevin in the in the draft cooler.
No way. Did I know this? Did you name your
I
crane
tell people,
Kevin?
I go, yeah, my crane's name is Kevin.
We should take a picture and put put my face on that thing.
Yeah. But anyway,
Oh man.
but yeah, now that I run everything all by myself, that I have been gotten better at practicing self-care that way, and not having anything left for my family when I come home, and
Right? Which
being
is
my
like, I mean, it's like written in like your Odell doesn't want you to not have a
of
good
course
life,
not.
right? Like no employer wants your life to suck. They just like it's and it is like you said at the onset of your answer, like it's a personal journey, you
It
know?
is a personal journey. And yes, like my manager, the Brendan, the first thing he always asks me, how are you doing? Like he wants to make sure that I'm taking
Taken
care.
care of. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it's my responsibility to do that, because I've been given this great opportunity, and I guess I was just wanting to perform so hardcore at it, and I was, as I still am, and am learning so much and get to learn so much, but I've also been able to, become more at ease at what I do. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I think it can be really hard when you love what you do as much as you do to not
sure.
just give, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a slippery slope. You're like,
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
genuinely enjoying this. And then you like sometimes you don't even realize till it's well past dark and you're getting home and
Yes.
your partner is asleep and
Yeah.
it's like, well, the family part of my day is over.
Yes.
Like that's, there's, yeah, it can be tough, but
Yeah. And I mean, that too. I mean, you're there, you've been there, and maybe are there now.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, I agree that I took my year-long sabbatical to find find better, at least intentions or like, set
yes.
intentions for setting boundaries. Whether,
Yes.
like I'm more and less successful all the time at that, but yeah, like it's that silly. Have you seen that trend? You're not super trend centric, but like the like uh everyone always asks how's the beer, but never no one ever asks how's the brewer. And like, have you seen this?
I
It's like
haven't.
social. It's so weird to like to try to describe what is going on in this social media. But it's basically like somebody ordering a beer at a tap room, and then like it like zooming to the background on like a sad looking brewer like looking through glass into the tap room. It's just I don't know, but like there is like a whole there's always a human making this thing, like especially as us, like we're selling this like craft beer. The part of the brand is that it's handmade, so it's like
Hmm.
obviously there's a human at the end of it, at the
Sure.
beginning and the end of it, so
Yeah.
you know
And
um
it's such a passionate thing, they're so so many brewers. There's so much passion there,
right,
and so much
yeah,
excitement about it, in that creation and creating and working with the ingredients we get to work with. And yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that excitement and like if you approach it with enthusiasm and like I want to brew this beer today, like you wake up in the morning and it's like I want to go to work and brew this beer, or it's like I have to brew this beer today. My
Right.
tap list demands it. So but like that's another personal choice that we have, and just facing the day with that positivity is like
It's
can
huge.
set you up for
It
success,
shifts energy so fast,
right?
and how much you have to give, and Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Um, Energy, speaking of energy, I think that something that we've always done a pretty good job of, or we like, I don't know why I'm like speaking of it like we still work together. I guess it still feels like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and we're gonna go brew this beer together.
We're still
But
pretty connected though,
we are. We hang out
Yeah.
like fairly frequently, maybe not as often as I'd like or
Me too.
you'd
Me
like,
too.
but yeah. Um, but are there any new tunes that you're rocking these days that you're putting? Because like I think that's something that we really the music was such a part of it. Like, if we weren't sharing music while we were sharing beer, or sharing the brewing experience, it was like it was less exciting in that way. So
Totally. Yes.
I guess basically I'm trying to I miss my music, Rex. Marnie. You got
Mm,
anything for me?
me too. Me too.
You
I'm trying to think. I always feel like when I'm put on the spot with
I
music,
and I do
my
apologize. That's
mind goes
awful to put you
completely
on.
blank.
I get it. I get it.
But I'm the same way. But I'm still, just I'm always just going through some rap Ferreira. It
Right.
Yeah, I can't get enough of him.
And he's very prolific, so it's you can always say Rap Ferreira and you're talking about something pretty new.
Yes, that's true. Yes. I've got my staples like Tao when they get down, stay down. Still I haven't listened to much AC Alone lately, though, I should say.
Right.
I was thinking I've been doing seasonal mixes
Okay.
instead of doing they just take so much time, and
So
so
you're not, I guess that was kind of the question is like, are you making playlists for your brews? Because I made a playlist for our brew today and it made me think about you because it was like,
oh,
this is
that's
how we
awesome.
used to, this is like the tradition that we used to have is like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I
intentional listening. But
yeah, I did one for the Women's Day brew, and then I generally do a seasonal, and I put a fair amount of new things, not necessarily newly out, but new to me, and then
yeah,
some new stuff that calls to me that I want to have on my, maybe go deeper with. And then revisit bands that I really enjoy listening to.
okay.
And yeah, yeah. But I've been having fun with like styrofoam winos. They're pretty fun.
What? I've never heard of this styrofoam
It's
wino.
a fun name
I'm writing it
too.
down. It is a great, yeah. Has anybody made a beer named styrofoam
Seriously,
wino?
I don't know. I don't know.
You
But I
gotta,
really enjoy them. And I think her name is Lou Turner that's in there. She's one of the bandmates. She's got some good music out too. I think they're like a Tennessee band. Yeah. Uh,
okay.
something I go back to.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to hear styrofoam
It's
winos.
not rap, but
No, no. I know I listen to a ton of rap, but I try to
you.
be a little bit,
I know
that was,
you
but
you
that was
get
something that was so great about us working. Like you brought me so many things that were rap.
sure, sure, and then you widen my scope of rap too because I do really enjoy rap and hip hop. I was gonna say something about some music, and I don't know if I remember now. Um, yeah, if it comes back, I'll say something. But
I
yeah,
cut you off like
music is
always.
still very important. Oh yeah, I still jazz. I'm still loving jazz, and so just trying to learn more about old jazz musicians and new too, and yeah. So I like to put some jazz in there as well. Sprinkle that in.
We sell so many kegs, not so many kegs, but like every single week we have like a standing order from Dazzle Jazz downtown. I've never
Oh,
been to
cool.
Dazzle. I gotta get down. Like we have a
We should
cool
go.
jazz club. Yes, let's go see some
Let's
jazz.
go do it. I'd love to go
Yeah.
sit and we can drink some Joyride beer and
Right? Yeah, you can
listen to
test my
some jazz.
wares. You can tell me what you think of my products.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So many good times,
Best
great
times
memories,
ever.
and yeah, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today on the podcast here. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
can't
welcome.
thank you
Thanks for
enough.
having me.
Of
It's been
course,
a lot of
yeah.
fun. I love talking beer with you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
likewise.
Oh, we're one of my favorite people.
Likewise again. Well, I'm sure we'll see you soon. And yeah,
Yes.
thanks again. Marnie will be back on the next episode of this show as the host, having a conversation with a brewer of her choosing. That will be on air the next week, so make sure you tune in for that. As a reminder, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media All About Beer. To support journalism in the beer space, please check out allaboutbeer.com/support. I'm Kevin Dugan of Joyride Brewing Company. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by StompStickers.com, trusted by thousands of breweries across the country. They've been printing for over 30 years, and they know beer branding inside and out. Whether you need beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, or more, they've got the expertise you need, all backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Try your first run with StompStickers.com and get 15% off with code TRY15. That's TRY15 by visiting StompStickers.com. Germany, and trusted by brewers worldwide for depth, color, and flavor. With a portfolio of over 90 malts, Weyermann provides the tools to build anything from crisp pilsners with Pilsner Malt to rich Märzens layered with Munich and Vienna. Even complex dark beers using Caramunich and Special W. Whether you're refining a classic European style or pushing modern recipes, order Weyermann from RahrBSG. As an industry-leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice. When you're running a brewery, every opportunity to save money and time matters. That's why PaySmart is the easy, no-brainer way to cut costs and automate the back office work that slows you down. No matter what you're currently using to process orders, PaySmart is designed to cost less, be easier to use, and help you get paid faster. And finally, it's a payment solution built specifically for craft beverage producers, not a generic small business platform trying to do a little bit of everything. Right now, you can claim a special launch offer of just 26 cents per invoice for your first 6 months. Start saving today at save.withpaysmart.com. That's save.withpaysmart.com.